Hello guys, and welcome to another video. And Nintendo just dropped their sales report for the last quarter, which ended on September 30th, 2024. So I kind of wanted to go through it and give some of my thoughts on it, since there are some pretty interesting things, especially on the game side of it. But I wanted to take a look at the Switch sales, because it's at 146 now, and I think before 3 months ago, it was at 143. So it definitely is inching closer to 150. They are definitely closing the gap with the DS, and with a lot of the games coming out now, like with the end of the year here, with the holiday, and even like the little things at the beginning of next year, I have a feeling that they could get pretty close to that, like before the Switch 2. So yeah, it is inching closer. It is slowing down, like definitely compared to last year, but it's still possible. But let's look at the games here and some of the information here. But let's scroll down. So for Echoes of Wisdom, it sold 2.58 million, which is pretty good. I don't think that's as much as what Link's Awakening sold for its first quarter, but considering that we're at the end of the Switch's lifespan, 2.58 million for a 2D Zelda game in its first quarter. This was like a few days too, because this was released like in September, so it was not that long for this to sell. So 2.58 million in that time frame is pretty good, I would say. I feel like it might not reach the levels of Link's Awakening, but I still think it will do pretty well. Of course, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe sold a little bit here. It actually, interestingly, didn't show up on the last report, so seemingly did sell more this quarter. Like, considering how last quarter it likely didn't sell a million, and now it sold 2.31 million, so it is still, like, kind of still selling a lot of copies even now. But Thousand Year Door, that's the interesting one here. I know a lot of people are probably going to be disappointed that it didn't hit 2 million yet, but honestly, I'm still not concerned at this point. I still think 1.94 million is fine at the moment, especially considering the fact that this quarter is a bit slower. I know Mario Kart 8 Deluxe sold some, but I still think for like most games, that is kind of like a pretty slow time of the year. So it did surpass the original. The original was 1.91 million, so that's good that it did surpass that. And it only has about 500,000 more to go to surpass Sticker Star. So I feel like it could easily do that within like the holiday season and everything with holiday sales. So I feel like it could definitely hit 2.5 million. I think that's definitely reasonable. I think 2.5 million would definitely send a message to Nintendo, I would say. I would say that's definitely enough. Even like a little over 2 million would definitely still send that message, like considering like a remake of a GameCube game sold that well at the end of the Switch's lifespan. So, fellow Paper Mario fans, I would not be worried about this. I'm glad that it outsold the original, and it is still, despite not being at 2 million yet, it still is one of the best-selling games this year so far. Like, if I scroll down here, let me find it here. Yeah, it's still the third best-selling game this fiscal year. And I think it did sell better than Peach Showtime and Mario vs. Donkey Kong as well. So that alone should send a message to Nintendo. So I would not be worried about this, Paper Mario fans. I know people are going to make a huge fuss out of it, but I think it's fine. I think this game is selling fine. I think it's probably going to be 2.5 million for its lifetime sales. And another thing is Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. I am actually kinda surprised that this isn't selling very well. It did not surpass Thousand Year Door like a lot of people said it would. That is another thing that I'm happy about. I am happy that Thousand Year Door is selling better than Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. So And this is even, like, for this is one thing that Nintendo probably actually would see as, like, a sign of, like, a certain game in a series not selling well. Not Thousand Year Door. Luigi's Mansion 2 HD is probably the one that they would fixate on as one not selling well, because Luigi's Mansion usually sells pretty well. Like, Luigi's Mansion 3 sold amazingly. I think it sold over 10 million, I believe. So, the fact that it sold 1.57 million in, like, between two quarters, I know it released at the end of the quarter before this, but still, I feel like Nintendo was probably expecting numbers around Echoes of Wisdom. But yeah, and I'm not really surprised. Well, one hand I am surprised, but the other hand, I'm not that surprised, because it is a very low effort remaster. Like, it basically is the same. I mean, I liked it. I enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong. But it definitely didn't really add much to the original game. And since the original game already did sell well, I mean, there probably are people who went from the 3DS to the Switch. There probably have been some people who already played this game, though I wouldn't say that's very many, considering how well the Switch sold. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel like, honestly, I think Nintendo would get the message that Thousand Year Door selling better than a Luigi's Mansion release. I think that's a good sign, actually. Like, the fact that Thousand Year Door is selling at a better pace than that, I actually think that's a good sign, if anything. And they say, like, sales grew steadily for Paper Mario, Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, Echoes of Wisdom. They kind of group them together as, like, selling kind of consistently here. So, it doesn't really say that much about that. But, yeah. So, let's see. But let's look at the comparison between, like, the Switch sales of, like, the last fiscal year and the same time frame in this year. Definitely a little less. Like, it was, yes, I think that's like 6.84 million compared to like 4.72 million. So it definitely is slowing down there. They kind of break it down for like the regular Switch, OLED. OLED is definitely selling better at this point. And then Switch Lite didn't even crack 1 million, which is kind of funny. But I'm not very surprised though. But let's look at, like, the other kind of sales units here. Nintendo Switch Sports is still selling. Surprisingly, like, I know a lot of people are saying, like, in Japan it was selling pretty well, but outside of Japan it still has legs. New Horizons, not surprising as well. And we can kind of see, and like I said, Thousand Year Door, like, it's still, like, the only games that are outselling it this year are Echoes of Wisdom and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is basically, like, a game that will always sell, so I don't think that's really a factor that Nintendo will consider. And Zelda is also, like, pretty big. This is a mainline Zelda game, so, like, Thousand Year Door is still, I think that's good. Like, this is, like, even when kind of pitting it against, like, Mario vs. Donkey Kong in Peach Showtime, this is still selling well. But other games that didn't even crack 1 million, which are pretty interesting. Endless Ocean Luminous, I'm not very surprised by, honestly, since that is very niche. Nintendo World Champions NES Edition, I was at least expecting that to hit, like the very lowest million, like the kind of like the margin, kind of like how Game Builder Garage was kind of like initially back in 2021. I kind of was expecting it to be kind of like that. Emio didn't crack 1 million either. Honestly, even though I'm not surprised, I am a little sad. Like, it's one of those things where you don't really expect it to sell well, but you're still kind of disappointed regardless, because Emio is amazing. Like, honestly, one of my favorite stories in, like, kind of like a adventure, text-based adventure game, and like a Nintendo game in general. They did like do like a decent amount of marketing for it too. I mean, obviously not on the scale of most of their games, but yeah, that is a little disappointing, despite the fact that I didn't really expect it to hit 1 million. Though Nintendo World Championships, I at least expected that to hit like the bare minimum like of 1 million, I would say. But yeah, like it seems like that they didn't really sell well. I kind of wish Nintendo did share information about their titles that didn't hit 1 million. Though I don't think that would look good to investors. I think that's probably why they only do titles that sell over 1 million. But I wish like somewhere else they kind of shared that information or have like better figures more often. But yeah. So anyways, those are my thoughts on the sales for like this current quarter and everything. So far, I'm not worried about Thousand Year Door. I think it could definitely outsell Sticker Star and sell decently, I would say. And I guess good for like a remake released at the end of the Switch's lifespan standards. So that's really nothing to worry about. Echoes of Wisdom doing pretty well. Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, definitely probably not as well as Nintendo expected. But yeah, anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more, and make sure to check out my Discord server and Twitter if you want to. Goodbye.